What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture, and we are live on a Thursday evening, Thursday afternoon, depending on where you are. What is going on? We got Gary and Luis hanging out. Man, guys, it's been a minute again since I've been live, and I'm just happy to be here. I, once again, didn't have this plan until today. I was like, what am I going to do today? Let's go do a live on the YouTube channel. So thank you guys for being here. We're going to take a few minutes just to kind of let everyone get in as always. And a lot to talk about. I just saw Deadpool and Wolverine yesterday, San Diego Comic-Con last weekend. So there's a lot of good news that's already been circulating. And man, just a few updates. So I'm here making content again on the channel. Of course, not as excessive as I was in the past, but hey, I'm doing the best that I can, coming through a lot of personal stuff in my life and returning to this. And I'm just happy to be back in any capacity. So I appreciate everyone that had been extremely patient with me while I was going through so much in my life. I do want to let everyone know that I just got back from a 10-day trip visiting the Northwest. My goodness, it was amazing. Portland, Seattle, and of course, everything in between there. Isaac, old friend of the channel, thank you for being here, man. We did so much in those 10 days, 9 days, and I hit up like 8 comic book stores, man. Like I said, Portland, Seattle, we even hit up the coast, Astoria, Oregon, so much. So I'm putting together a video showcasing that trip. There's a whole lot of editing, so it might be a couple weeks before I actually get it up on the channel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase every store that I went to in 2 different states, many different cities and towns, and I purchased something from every store I went to. So that's cool. I get to show off all the books and the goodies that I bought from these stores. And also, I'm going to rate the stores. And it's going to be fun because there was a lot of, interesting things, positives, negatives about every store that I went to. It's going to be fun, guys. So I'm putting a lot of work into the editing process and, of course, the filming process. So I really hope that the YouTube algorithms push it out there. I hope that for all my subscribers, you guys click notification bell and can really push this video because, like I said, I know I haven't been active here over the last year or so with everything I've been going through, and that definitely affects the algorithms. And I don't even know if a lot of people that are subscribed will even be getting notifications to my videos because that's just what YouTube does. It sucks. The algorithms suck. So I'm asking all of you guys that are still around supporting the channel to just keep an eye out for that video and for, of course, everything that I do leading up to there, because I'm still doing videos. I plan on doing at least a couple of videos a week moving forward. So, Ray, what's going on? So some familiar faces already, man. So again, today we are going to talk about a lot of things that have been going on in the MCU. Of course, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then we're going to correlate them to comic books and the market right now in speculation. And I've done a couple of videos once coming back these last couple of weeks talking about it. So I really hope that this is going to be a discussion that'll be fruitful for all you guys. Surge, man, this is just great to see so many familiar names. I feel like in a way it's like I never left, man. So let's take about 2 more minutes before we get into the topic of discussion. If you guys have anything you want to just add to the chat right now before we get going, any questions? E-Dub, man, I appreciate you guys just hopping on. Appreciate you for sure. So, and again, I want to forewarn everyone, this is an open discussion today about Deadpool and Wolverine. So we will be talking spoilers if they come up. And so going over the cameos and everything. So if you guys have not seen Deadpool Wolverine, and it's something that you do not want spoiled, then, you might want to come back on the replay. It was awesome. I've watched it twice already. Nice, right? Yeah, I went with my oldest son yesterday. My youngest son is going on tomorrow with his friend. So, all right, 1 more minute and then we're going to get into it. So again, yeah, full disclosure, spoilers, open discussion, Deadpool, Wolverine. I will say, guys, it's been interesting because I haven't been too hip on the market, but I've been the last week. I've been getting back into it. I do want to one more thing before we get into it. Comic book sales. Comic book sales. I know I made a couple of sales with you guys. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm always open if you guys want to hit me up on Instagram to trying to work something out. I've been doing little grab bags, and I want to make that known again. I will still be willing to anybody that wants. What did I do? I did 10 books. 10 books for oh man, what did I do? 10 books for $20 plus shipping. And shipping is what I say, like $9 or something for ship. No. It was 10 books for $1. It was basically 10 books for $1 plus shipping, and I think I rounded up to it was 10 for 21. There it was. I got to get my stuff right. 10 for 21 grab bags. Basically, that's including shipping. So you're basically getting books for $2 each or $1 each plus shipping, however you want to look at it. I got a lot of fun stuff. Obviously, I'm not going to be putting any keys in there. It's not like, oh, buy a $20 mystery box from Journo and get the chance of winning some big key. It's just something fun, 70s to modern Marvel and DC, mostly, not a lot of indie, mostly Marvel and DC. So if you guys are looking for that, and if you have specifics like, oh, I collect like Avengers characters, or like, Green Lantern or something like that, you have favorite characters, I'll put together something that matches what you're interested in. So hit me up on Instagram or send me an email at Captain Journo Comics. That's Journo without an S, Captain Journo Comics @gmail.com. And I'll gladly hook you up. Send me the $21. I ship out 10 books to you, priority. But I do plan on getting back into comic book sales on Instagram, maybe even on Whatnot. Again, we'll see. And we'll go from there. But yeah, so Crumby. Haven't seen it yet. Don't care about being spoiled. All right. So let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. First off, let's talk a little bit about the movie itself, Deadpool and Wolverine. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it much better than the second one. And I love how they incorporated the MCU. And I do love how it was like an ode to Fox. Ryan Reynolds doing what he does best. And it wasn't like, when we deal with, like, especially comedians, humor can tire out, even if it's something that they do good. Like, I'll use Kevin Hart as an example. I used to love Kevin Hart. He had his thing. But the more he does it, the more it's just like, all right, this is the same stuff over and over. I'm tired of it. Move on. Ryan Reynolds did his thing with his movie, and he upped it up a notch. I mean, the way they picked it, Disney, the way it was perfect to me. The one thing that this movie did have that I thought a lot of superhero movies are lacking, not just MCU or Marvel or DC, like just in general, it's so stale, right? We keep getting the same theme. I mean, and I think that's when you talk about superhero fatigue. I don't necessarily think there's this stereotypical superhero fatigue, but I do feel it's like when you get inundated with so much content, which is great, but you get the same formula. We're tired of the same formula. I think that this film really broke formula. I thought the villain was solid. I don't think anybody expected, Cassandra to be the villain of the movie, who is a part of the comic books. I think her first appearance was in like new X-Men. I don't remember what issue number. If you guys know it, drop it. And it was different. And how they incorporated I forget the technical name, the wasteland that we learned about in Loki. How all the variants that have broken out of their place or whatever go to this wasteland. And that's where all the Fox franchise characters went to. I loved it. It was perfect. And I know Ryan had a lot to do with building this storyline up and all the people that came into play, man. With how they utilized Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, how it was a variant. And I know some people will get upset at that. Oh, this multiverse variant crap is lazy and all this, whatever. But just like Ryan said in the movie, it's like, we're not going to ruin Logan. that Wolverine is dead, right? Um, how they brought back X-23, how they brought in, again, spoilers, Elektra, Wesley Snipes' Blade, and Channing Tatum's Gambit. And it was perfect, man. And then of course, when we heard the voice of Chris Evans, and we're thinking, even Deadpool was like Cap, and it ended up being Johnny Storm, man. Like, for all of these actors too to get on board with this and come through and make that happen, I think was great. And again, you can look at all the naysayers and the people that are going to look at this in a negative light and say they're just, they're desperate. It's like, again, fans can never be happy. It's like, okay, well, Marvel isn't tending to the fans. They're not tending. Nobody cares about Kamala Khan and the Eternals and She-Hulk, but yet now they're fan servicing, and it's lazy, or they're just desperate. So it's like, what do you want? It was a great film, man. Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together as those two characters was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it even had there was even depth, there was even emotion there. Like you felt for Deadpool trying to have purpose. You felt for the Wolverine that we had, the Logan that we had in this film that lost his team. There was that emotion in it. There was depth. There was even depth to the villain that we saw Logan spare at the end. And like, there's just a lot of character building within it all that really brought us back down to grounding, which I think is what made the MCU so great in the first place. A lot of these characters were grounded. This is what made Marvel characters so great in the first place, what Stan did with them in the comic books, letting them be human. Spider-Man was so human. He dealt with teenage stuff. Like Iron Man dealt with addiction and demons in a bottle. Like all these things, we got that in this film too. So there was great character building, story arcs, the humor, the violence, the action, all of it was just on point. And there was a great story behind it. And a lot of people will say, well, it didn't even further what the MCU was doing. And I was confused still. Like, I wasn't. I'm not going to read too much into it. TVA is doing what they were doing, and it makes enough sense for me. So, Pedro, what's going on, Pedro? Who is saying they're desperate? A lot of people. I'm glad that you love it for sure. Yeah, when Blade and Gambit came out, man, it was dope. And at first, like, I was a little, okay, Channing Tatum, can you really pull this off? I thought he looked a little tight in the suit. Maybe they could have rearranged that a little bit, but now I'm nitpicking. But I mean, he had the swag down, he had the accent down, and then when he was in battle, man, it was dope. It was dope. So now it's like, I'm glad that Channing Tatum had a moment. Who knows? That's probably it. Is Gambit? Who knows? It's sad that his film didn't come to fruition, but we got something, and it was solid, man. And Blade, as old as Wesley Snipes is, I think he's in his 60s now, I think. And he still look swaggy-rific, man. And even with the gray and his beard, Jennifer Garner, man. And I have my issues with Jennifer Garner as Elektra. This kind of like typical white girl actress, just because she was a cute, popular actress at the time, and they could have got somebody like more like from the Daredevil series. I forget the actress's name, and I don't know if she's Latina or Spanish or Eastern European, but she has more that Eastern European look, and I like that much better. But Jennifer Garner's a great actress still, and I remember, what was that show that she was in where she was like the spy? Oh shoot, I love that show, man, and I can't remember the name of it. But she looks good in the suit. She's always looked good in the suit, and she killed it too. I don't care, man. Like, it is what it is. It was fun to see. So Overall, Deadpool Wolverine was a solid freaking movie. And Alias, thank you. Yes, yes. Yeah, she was hot. She looked good. She looked good. Even for her age. I think she's like 50 now, and she was slaying, man, in the costume. I think she almost looked better now than maybe she did 20 years ago. It was crazy. She's aging good, and I know it's Hollywood, whatever, but so I don't know, guys. Let me know if you guys have a rating of what you would rate it, like 1 through 10. I give it a solid, man, I don't know. At least an 8.0. At least an 8.0, maybe even an 8.5. And I am one that doesn't think that Marvel, the MCU needs to be saved or anything like that. I do feel that there's been low peaks that I think fans of the MCU thought we may never see because Feige and team was doing everything so perfect, right? So like Eternals was kind of a low point to me, but I watched it again and I liked it a little better, but still it was too much. And we were inundated with a lot of stuff. And I know that they were just trying to do different things that tend to different markets. I mean, She-Hulk, I was entertained by She-Hulk, but it wasn't really for me. I loved the Miss Marvel show, and I thought the Marvels was an entertaining film, but that's it, I don't feel like everything has to connect or everything. Well, man, we're still waiting so long for this to pan out. Well, guess what? Remember when we only had 2 movies, 1 movie a year, or 2 movies a year, or 1 movie every other, whatever it was, and no TV shows? We had to wait years to see something pan out. So just because we have a TV show and a movie with these different characters, it doesn't mean that we need to have that last Avengers movie or that last, Moon Knight show or whatever it was, like always connect with every little thing. I mean, we don't need that. So I do think we were getting spoiled, but I do think the quantity came first over the quality to some degree, because like Ant-Man Quantumania, that's, to me, Ant-Man Quantumania is the low for MCU. That shit was garbage to me, if you ask me. It was garbage. Jonathan Majors got very little screen time, and when he did, he shined, man. And I wish they would have played more into it, and I don't even understand why they killed off that variant. And now we'll never know, probably because the Jonathan Majors thing, and that's a whole other story. Quantumania and Ant-Man's supposed to be funny and supposed to be stupid. They did a great job with it with the first 2 films. This was just clustered fudge. I'm going to keep it PG-13. I got my 1 curse word into the live stream. I wasn't feeling it. So to see, I don't think that the MCU needed to be saving, but I do feel like it needs to be kind of recalibrated and come back to kind of more focus on not just the core characters, but the core feel. Stay away from everything. Doesn't need to be comedic, and let's leave Deadpool for the comedy. Let's leave them in the certain pieces where they need to be. And now I'm looking forward to the new Captain America film. I know it's not Steve Rogers. I know it's not Chris Evans, and it's going to suck because that was nothing. I think it's going to be a solid film, though. It reminds me of Winter Soldier vibes. I hope they're not just trying to copy the Winter Soldier. Let it be its own thing, but get back to that spy espionage, grounded down to earth, plot action. Jean Carlos, man, he looks like he's going to be a badass in it. So I'm hyped about that, and I'm solid. Low expectations for me. Low expectations and just remaining optimistic that I'm going to go and enjoy these films. Buddy, what's going on? Larry, what's going on? Giving an 8 solid. Yeah, She-Hulk wasn't really for me either, but I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at what they were trying to do. I thought a couple episodes were actually like a couple episodes I remember being really entertaining and kind of where I really kind of laughed. And then everything else is like, all right, but I get it. It's not, it was what it was. $9.9. What's going on? Derek, what is going on? Cluster fudge. That's what's up. Ray gives it an 8.0 as well. So glad to hear that you guys enjoyed it as well. So, I mean, just to kind of sum up, I want to move on because I do want to get into a little bit more of the San Diego stuff, which I know people have been talking about all week, but then I want to get into comic books. I want to get into what this means on the market. I'm excited. I'm excited. Deadpool, Wolverine. Excited about the new Cat movie. And let's talk a little bit about RDJ. You know, I know it's up in the air about what is this going to be? Is he going to be an evil Tony Stark? Is he going to be Victor Von Doom? I know that the Russo brothers said Victor Von Doom, but we all know, remember, like, even the Russo brothers themselves gave out misleading information before Endgame and Infinity War and stuff. It could definitely be misleading information because they don't want to throw it all out there right now. And I understand. So it very well could be that this is Tony Stark from another universe that just takes on the mantle of Doom, which obviously has happened in the comics. Of course, there's a lot of different things that have happened in the comics when it comes to Doom / Tony Stark. We're going to get a little bit into that a little more when I talk about the comic books. But look, man, again, people are going to say this is a desperate attempt. I don't think so. And honestly, this is my opinion. I do believe that it's going to be a multiversal evil Tony. I do. And I honestly think this was in the plans all along. I really do. Now, do I feel like it was going to always be the way it is now? No, because they've had to switch things around to minimize Kang. But I do believe that when they were doing Endgame, or right after they did Endgame, and Tony was done, and Robert Downey Jr. was done, probably Feige and team sat with Tony and said, we're mapping everything out still, and maybe it's not concrete, but one of our options is to bring Tony Stark back as the evil variant for Secret Wars, or a Secret Wars scenario, because we're diving into this multiverse saga. And I think they threw that on the table, and they probably had a talk to where Robert Downey Jr. was like, well, I'm open to it. Right now, let's, and they probably even said, let's talk in 5 years. 5-year plan, right? Or let Robert Downey Jr. go do a few movies, win a few Oscars, which he did, and then 5 years, let's sit back down and see if we can bring you back in. I really do believe that's an option. And now get this. Now, I know, again, spoilers from the Deadpool movie, mute. I know we saw Chris Evans make a return, but this was different. This was different. Obviously, he wasn't returning as Cap. It was a cameo. It was Johnny Storm, and it was what it was. And I know there has been rumors about a possible miniseries TV show on Disney Plus about Cap returning the stones. I think that would be great. Hands up. Let me get a thumbs up or a hands up. Who would be down to see Chris Evans go through returning the Infinity Stones? That would be amazing. I do believe they had the same conversation with him. Like, okay, Chris, we're going to move on and do our thing. Maybe in 5 years, let's sit back down again and talk and see if there's any way that we can. And again, I know both of them want to keep that legacy that they did with Steve and Tony alive. So I'm definitely thinking that we will see Chris Evans again as Cap in some capacity. Whether it's like in a miniseries like that where it's in the past, or they bring him in as a couple things. Secret Wars. They could bring in old man Steve, because technically, I don't know if we and again, if I'm wrong, I've been following it all, but if I'm wrong, tell me. We don't know for sure that he's dead, right? When you watch the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like there's nothing that says that Steve is necessarily dead. We ain't seen like a memorial that says a timeline to where he freaking croaked in his old age. We might be able to even see him as old man Steve take more of the serum that reverts him back to the super soldier of Young, who knows to fight evil Tony in Secret Wars. Just my thoughts and my opinions. Circum. We're not mad about anything right now, man. It's all love. It's all love. Phil, what's going on, Phil? Ramon. RDJ is going to be a hidden twin that becomes Doom out of jealousy towards Iron Man. Okay. That's an interesting theory. Yeah, I feel it. Yep, got some thumbs up about the Chris Evans, Steve Rogers series. I'm curious about what happened between Steve and Red Skull. Yep, that too. Absolutely. So, anyways, man, that's what I think. I think it is going to be an evil Stark variant, and I think it's going to shock the ones that loved him to be able to see him and have to fight him. I think it's going to add so much depth and so much conflict rather than it just being some guy that looked like Tony playing a different character and nobody even recognizes him. I don't know. So that's my take on it. Now, let's get into comic books. And if you saw the title, Getting Rich, it's time to get rich off of comic books again. Well, not really. Obviously, I was adding in sarcasm in that title. So, Agent Carter's been dope. I would love to see Agent Carter too. Yeah, man. I like Agent Carter. I liked her in the series 2 of What If. Whoa. Hold on. Pause, guys. Wow. Does Journo have thoughts on Sticky Goose getting a video taken down for bullying? Has that hit your radar yet? It has not. And look, man, I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to talk about this right now. I mean, I'm glad that you brought it up. That's interesting. And the only thing I could say is this, man. I guess I have one more cuss word in my PG-13. Karma's a bitch. That's all I'll say, man. Karma's a bitch. And, you know, everything that you work for in anything you do, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's at a job, a career, it could be taken away just like that. And knowing how YouTube works, knowing how the monetization works, knowing how the algorithms work, you want to screw, F around to find out. You want to get your clicks and views up by off the backs of sensationalism and, I should take some words of Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool, but ramming some rear ends, man, just to get clicks and views to pump your channel up, man. Watch it come falling down real quick. I mean, you can easily get demonetized and never come back from that, and you can easily get the algorithms, thrown against you. I mean, just me being away messed up the algorithms, and I don't know if I'll ever, no matter how much I work on journos, who knows? Like, the algorithms thinks that journos comics don't do nothing anymore, so it's really tough. As much as you guys continue to support, which I hope you do. So that's all I'll say on that. I'm not even going to mention any names again. I'm just going to say, people want to play around with, trying to get to the top by standing on the backs of others. Reap what you sow. That's all I got to say. But I'll probably look into that myself and just even see, because it's interesting. It's interesting. And I'll just say this: I try to talk to him. I tried to talk to him. I tried to reach out man to man and say, hey man, I want to have love for you. I want to have everyone. I want to have love for everyone in this community, but I had to learn from my own mistakes. Even though my intent was always pure, I had to learn from my own mistakes. What you gonna do? So, yep. Brandon. Drake played around and got destroyed. Do you have... I don't... Personally, me, I don't have bad blood for anybody. Because those who wish harm on me, I keep them at the top of my prayer list. And that's what I've learned in my life through everything I've been through, especially over the last couple of years. Anybody that wants to do harm on me, I keep them in the forefront of my prayers. I don't got bad blood with anybody. So I'll just leave it at that. It's origin story of Skynet. I feel you. Okay. Appreciate that tidbit. I'm sorry it went on a little sidebar, but we got to get back into this. Let's talk about... Okay, this is where we're at right now, guys. And I'm sure a lot of you that are here watching now live or watching on the replay really want to get to the bottom of this. Like, look, comic book speculating is such a conundrum right now. Okay? I don't want to get in the way of anybody that wants to speculate on comic books. And if you want to know the truth, it's like I'm surrounded. You guys know I got thousands of comic books that I need to sell. I'm sitting on Doom books right now, by the way. I'm sitting on Doom books. I've been sitting on Doom books. Might be time to sell. As a seller, I sit on spec books. I sat on a Frogman first appearance and I sold it for like $15 when it was $1 book when he showed up. Because, hey, man, if people want to look, I've come on my channel and said, don't buy this book. And then I put it up for sale and people still buy it. If we haven't learned how comic book speculation works these days, I can't hold your hand through it anymore. I titled this, man. Let's spec like it's 2021. That was a play on Prince. Speculate like it's COVID-19 or 2000, whatever, man. It's like, that's what's happening. Oh, you know what, Chris? Maybe people have the right to do it now. Oh, it's different. Like we got RDJ coming back. We got Deadpool, Wolverine. We got Doom coming. Like, man, nah. This ain't Miss Marvel or Frogman or She-Hulk or Eternals. Like this is what we want. This is what we want. Let's spec. It's the time again. Okay, if you want to think that, that's fine. And you do you. But the old journals would have taken the bait. Man. Anyways, here's what I have to tell everyone first and foremost. This is how we're going to start this off. Because maybe there's noobs out there. When I say noob, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. You're new to comic books and you want to see comic books as an investment. All right. I'm going to repeat what I've been saying. These are like the Holy Grails or the 10 Commandments. When you want to buy into comic books, when you care about the value of the product that you're purchasing, whether it's short-term or long-term. You're not just buying because you want to read the story or have a piece of history and you don't care about the resale value of that book. If you care about the resale value of your book in any way, whether it's a short-term or long-term investment, number one that you need to remember is 99% of your comic books, 99% of your comic books, especially modern books, depreciate in value once you buy them. And I might change my YouTube name to that. Not Journos Comics anymore, but 99% of comic books aren't worth shit. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. I'm gonna grab a handful of books. I'm gonna grab a handful of books out of this box that says $1 each or buy 5 for $1. And I'm going to read you the cover price. We got some Commandy books right here. Cover price, $125. They came out in 93. I'm selling them for $1 each or 5 for $1. Honestly, if I was having a garage sale out here, comic book garage sale, and somebody picked these up and said, hey man, can I get these like for 75 cents each? I'd give it to them. If they said 50 cents each, I might even give it to them. We got some Blue Beetle, $2.99. I mean, this ain't that old, 2016, 17, selling it for $1. Even less if they buy 5. $3 cover price. Batman Beyond, $3 cover price. I'm selling it for $1. $50. I'm telling you, I would $1. I might even give this to a kid for free. My point is, actually, let me do more. I want to do more. Let's do more. Let's do more. More DC, $2.99, $1 each. Green Lantern, $2.99. Oh, look at that. That's a Harley Quinn variant cover, $1. Catwoman, $2.99, $1. Do I got some Marvel in here? This is mostly my DC stuff. Anyways, JLA, number 1, $5.99 cover price, $1. Or buy 5, get one of them free. 5 for $4. 99% of the comic books you buy depreciate in value. Now, even if we look at Bronze Age books, do I got a Bronze Age book, some random Bronze Age book laying around? I don't think I do. Let's take a Bronze Age Avengers book from the early 80s that had a cover price of 60 cents, right? And, you know, it's a nice, fine, very fine looking book, whatever. And it's being sold for $3. And you're like, well, this comic book appreciated in value. Actually, it probably didn't, because you got to consider inflation in the value of the dollar in 2024 next to the value of the dollar in 1982 or whatever it is. That 60 cents today is going to be closer to $3. So you may be looking at a similar value that it was selling for 35, 40 years ago. So even if you could sell a Bronze Age book for $2, $3, $4, you're not really getting a return on your investment if you purchased it for 60 cents, 65 cents back in the early 80s because of inflation in the value of the modern dollar. The majority of your comic books depreciate in value. That's just how it goes. Now, if you get a bulk lot of Bronze Age books and you pay 20 cents for them, or let's even say you pay cover price. Say you bought a bulk lot of cover price 60 cents books from the Bronze Age today. Now you are obviously, if you're selling them for more than 60 cents, because you're paying 60 cents in today's money. So you may be paying cover price right now, but that's 60 cents in today's dollar. That's pretty basic math. I hope you guys all can understand that. The majority of your comic books depreciate in value. That's the number one golden rule that I really, really wish everyone would chill out, smoke one, and understand. Or sip some tea. Tea is relaxing too. Some chamomile, put some honey in there. All right. Oh, man. I'm going to take a breather real quick, and I'm going to read a couple of comments. Swaggy, what's going on? Swag Hoss, thanks for coming in, man. I'm gonna use you as an example in a minute here. Let's see what James says. I'm gonna bring it up on screen because I'm getting old and I can't see anymore. Spec I avoid, but I also try to avoid seeing my collection as investment, not even as long-term investment, because it's uncertain with lack of next generation entertaining the hobby. There may be no interest. Oh my God, James, you bring up such a valid question that I am working on. Either maybe this will be my next live stream and not just a video. I will entitle it "When Boomers Are Dead and Gone." Not only boomers, but what is it? Boomers and then Gen X and then millennials, right? I think that's how it goes. Gen X is like 60s, 70s, and millennials are 80s, early 90s. When these three generations are gone, what is going to be the value of even Silver and Bronze Age comic books? James, I appreciate that, because that is something that has been on my mind that I definitely want to talk about in the near future. The Collector P, what's going on? I'm bringing my low-end books to Goodwill. John, let's see what James says here again. A 50-cent comic from 1970 in today's dollar has the purchasing power of 125. So realistically, that comic cost the kid. Yeah, thank you. That's great insight there. Ray, X-Men comics have been selling like crazy. Yep. When in doubt, blame the boomers. GT, what's going on, GT? All right, so back to the topic at hand. So when I talk about the large majority of comic books depreciating in value, well, what about Journo? For years, you've came on your channel and you talked about books to invest in, and comic books is a good investment. I just did a video again 6 years later from selling my stocks and buying some key comics. The comic books, if I sold them today, look like a better investment than what the stocks are doing right now. Comics are still a good investment, but it's not a blanket statement. All right. It's like saying, again, it's just like saying, oh, just because a stock is traded on the publicly traded on the stock market, it's a good investment just because it's a stock. No, it don't work like that. The majority of stocks out there are probably going to, lose your money. But you got to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're doing. So let's lead into this movie spec with this. Like, are we knowing what we're doing? And I'm going to give a little history right now. Raising Elm, what's going on, man? K-pop, what's up? I get in the argument with people that says speculation is something new. No, it's not. Speculation has been around for decades and decades. Speculation was around when Robert Overstreet created the first Overstreet price guide because he knew that there was an intrinsic value there on the secondary market for long-term value of these comic books as an investment. That was over 50 years ago. The new element in speculation is movie spec. And there has been no true indicator, no true indicator that can correlate. And now, I don't know if any of you have ever taken finance or financial statistics, or just statistics in general, but mostly on the financial level of statistics, the investment level of statistics. And if Swag's still here, he might even have an opinion on this. There is no true indicator that correlates a live action film being a true variable that moves the value of a comic book long term. I'm going to repeat that. There is no indicator, no viable indicator that we can isolate in a regression analysis. No viable indicator that says this variable, when isolated, can be proven to show that it has moved comic X here, comic Y, comic Z up in value long term because of anything relating to a live action property. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Now, I know it's not that black and white. It's much more nuanced because I'm going to explain something. Comic values in general are where they are at right now, meaning the long-term projection of comic value since, I would say, 2010, around 2012, really, have been on a higher upward trajectory because of the MCU. I will say that. I will say that. But see, these are two different things. I'm talking about two specifically different things. And it comes down to why we make purchasing decisions. And right now, we're still doing it all wrong. Let me elaborate. And I said this again, and I'm going to say it again, probably a million times. I got out of comic books in the late 90s and early 2000s because as a teenager, I was ruining my life. I got lost to the streets and decided that, killing myself was better than doing anything productive. I tried changing my life as I became an adult. And then what happened? Well, we got X-Men movies. And then we got the Spider-Man movies. And although I had my issues with those movies, they were amazing for what they were at the time. And you know what it did? Brought me back into comics. I remember when I do think it was Spider-Man 2 came out. No, excuse me. It was Spider-Man 3 because it was the black suit. 2007, right? And I saw the preview and it was like black suit Spidey. I went back in my comic books. I couldn't find my 252. I knew I had one as a kid. I couldn't find it. I remember going to the comic book store and buying like a fine plus very fine copy for like $20, $25. Because I needed it in my collection, because what was happening with me when I was going to these movies or seeing the trailers, was there anything in my mind about, oh my God, Black Spidey is showing up in a movie. I need to make sure I have that book because I'm going to be rich, or I'm going to see a return on investments. No. That thought didn't come up in my mind at all when I couldn't find my copy, and I went to the comic book store and bought one. I didn't care how much it cost as long as I could afford it. I didn't look up a key collector or cover price, or at the time, I didn't pull up an Overstreet price guide and say, oh, well, am I paying fair market value? Oh, is this a near mint copy? No. It was a copy of the book. $20, $25 at the time seemed like a fair price to me. And I bought it because, man, this was my childhood. And we could fast forward to 2008 and say the same thing when we saw Iron Man and how it was brought to life. And then we could fast forward to 2012 when we saw all the Avengers team up. And boy, did we, as grown men at the time, some of us maybe in our 20s at the time, some of us even in our 30s and 40s at the time, or even in our 50s at the time. Wow, did we see everything that we loved about our childhood within these comic books coming to life on screen. And boy, when we saw the end credit scene in 2012, Avengers, and we saw Thanos for the first time, I went and bought the trade paperback for Infinity Gauntlet because I needed to read it. I needed to have something that pertained to these characters in this story arc that I loved as a kid. So, am I buying these books because I'm sitting here thinking I need to speculate on something showing up in a film, thinking that it's going to increase my return on investment, short term, mid-term, long term? No. But guess what? My purchasing decisions impacted the secondary market. So let's go back to what I said, the two things that I said. One, there is no regression analysis that we can run where we pull in an isolated variable that says any live action property, character showing up, property, movie, cameo, appearance, whatever, correlates to a long-term increase in a comic book's value. But yet, the MCU as a whole existing has absolutely, increased the trajectory of the comic book secondary market. The reason why is because everything that we do as comic book collectors and lovers affects the market. Because what is a market? A market is a trading place where we consume goods and trade for currency. That's a market. So what dictates a market? Human beings, people, the consumers, and what they are consuming is the market. Comic books have seen an upward trajectory in fair market value on the secondary market, not because of collectors caring about return on investment. They've seen it because we care about buying things and owning things that are nostalgic to us, that are amazingly awesome to us, even the younger generation. When I took my kids to see Avengers and they wanted to go to the comic book store, when I took my son to see The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield in 2012, he was 7 at the time. We left the movie theater and he was comic book store, comic book store, comic book store. And for the next 2 years, this kid at 7 years old was buying, he was going into my bins and I let him. And yeah, I got a lot of books with the covers ripped off. He went back. I remember buying the black and white, essentials. At 7 years old, this kid was going back and reading all the Spider-Man books with me. Love for comics, love for these characters. That's what the movies did. That's what the movies did for us. Now, the reason, so our purchasing decisions have gone from, damn, this is amazing, this is cool, I want to go back to that. I want to go to these comic shops. I want to go on eBay. I want to buy something that reminds me of my childhood or just reminds me of how much I love these characters. Now, simply because of media, YouTube, and everything that we do in all the spaces and all the capacities that we talk about comic books, for some reason, that narrative somewhere along the way, and it's because somewhere in the back of our head as collectors, we do care about long-term value. Most of us do. I want to pass my comic books down to my kid and hopefully they have some type of increased value than what I paid for them. Yes. So somewhere along the line, because we have this little P of care about return on investment and value, comic books and the language that we use, comic books are a collectible. Oh man, these books are getting hot. So many people are buying them because we're watching these movies. Somehow it evolved away from the intrinsic properties of why we were purchasing these books, of our purchasing decisions, and it just spinning out of control, and it spun the narrative to where we seamlessly jump to this echo chamber of FOMO. And we forgot why we're buying books in the first place. Because now it doesn't matter if it pertains to a character that we loved, or a black suit that we loved, or a character story arc that we love, like Infinity Gauntlet. Now, for some reason, we have been brainwashed to believe by our own shortcomings that if something shows up in a live action property, it's going to be worth money. Those are the differences between what we're doing now and what got us here. Those are the differences between the long-term trajectory of the secondary market as a whole and this, when it comes to these books that seemingly might have something to do with a live action property. And I can't beat that over anybody's head enough. No single issue comic book has any variable correlating it to any type of long-term value because of live action something or other. So, what does that mean for where we're at right now and how we're speculating? Because here's the interesting thing. Now, I know a lot of the diehard fans, I get it. A lot of us, we didn't grow up with Miss Marvel. I'm not even going to talk about why some people hate her or the She-Hulk show, or like, we grew up with She-Hulk. I mean, I grew up with She-Hulk, but I get it. Like, a lot of us didn't grow up with Miss Marvel. And, it's not necessarily a property that gets a lot of maybe the core audience excited. Although, like Kamala Khan got me watching her on screen, wanted me to go back to the comics. I was indifferent about She-Hulk. It didn't make me want to do anything about She-Hulk. Eternals didn't make me want to go buy an Eternals comic at all. I'm like, nope. So when we see Deadpool and Wolverine, and especially Wolverine wearing the yellow and blue suit, and when we see these cameos, it's like there's a lot of us that really grew up with this. And even like the details that they put in that movie when we were getting the flashes of all the different multiversal Wolverines, and we saw the Wolverine, and again, spoiler, we saw the Wolverine in the brown and yellow suit, and he was fighting Hulk, and he put the claws up, and we see claws reflection. I mean, how badass is that? I would want to go buy Hulk 3, freaking whatever. I don't remember the 330, whatever it is. McFarlane cover off the top. You know, if I had the money, I want, man, because it is so cool to see that in a movie, and man, does it remind me of my childhood. So there's a difference there. Dr. Doom, Robert Downey Jr., we know what he means. There's a difference there. It's not just, oh, they're showing up in a property, I want to go grab it. It's like Doom is one of the most badass villains in Marvel. Robert Downey Jr. made the MCU. We love him to death. Damn, this is dope. It makes me want to be a kid again. It makes me want to just dive into some Doom stuff. I get that. And as long as we can regulate ourselves and know that that's why we want to purchase these books, I got nothing bad to say. But when, like I said in my video, when a comic book that really, if the infamous Iron Man #1, that's where Doom takes up the mantle as Iron Man, and we get the first AI Tony Stark. When that, at this point, as we know, has nothing to do with anything that's shown up at SDCC, has nothing to do with what we know about RDJ or Doom in the MCU, and people are, I mean, the book, I just saw a book sell for $85. This book was a $5-6 book last week. And I'm going to say this right now, and I don't want to over animate myself and be an asshole about it. I don't want to be cocky about this, but I will say that book, even if somehow we get to Secret Wars and we see AI Tony Stark and we see a Victor Von Doom putting on the Iron Man armor. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means it pertains to that book. I guarantee you that book is not going to hold value. I'll say it right now. And if I'm wrong, come back to me and tell me, Chris, Journal, you were wrong. I will admit it. I will come on my channel and say I was wrong. This book will not hold value. This book will not hold value for anything that they do with it in the MCU if they do. It won't. It won't. It won't. It won't. It won't. It won't. Period. And I like what Swag said in his video that he did the other day. If you guys really want to, now this goes away from us wanting to just buy books because we're feeling the excitement of seeing all these characters that we love come out on the big screen or whatever. If we actually want to buy books for an investment, there are Silver Age. I mean, I got one. I got Marvel Superheroes Special, whatever, number whatever, 18. Anybody want to buy it? I can part with it. I don't care. I'll pay you probably, I'll charge you 3 times what it was going for a week ago. There are so many Silver Age early Doom books that in probably lower to mid-grade, you can buy for less than these modern books that were dollar bin books that were $5-6 a week ago that are just going to plummet down. You could go buy some Silver Age goodness that will increase long-term intrinsically. But hey, look, at the end of the day, it's your money. It's not my money. Spend your money how you want. Who am I to tell you anything? I've never came on my channel and said, buy this book now before it's too late. Never, never. I have never told you to buy a book. I've said, these are some books that are worthy to look at. This is what they're doing on the market. This is what I would do. This is what I wouldn't do. So I'm going to say the same thing here. Not only would I not tell you what to buy, I'm not going to tell you what not to buy. But I am going to try to educate you on what's going on. You want to spend $85 on that infamous Iron Man #1? go ahead, but mark my word, you will not be able to sell it for anything close to that a few years from now. So I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to read some comments, and then I'm probably going to close and conclude here. All right. I'm going to put some on screen when they're long because, like I said, I'm old. I had a bunch of Western comics from the late 40s and early 50s that belonged to my dad. He asked me to sell them thinking lots of people would want them, and they were worth a lot. Yeah, well, we know how that goes now. Swag. Tom McFarlane, Wizard Mag, and Image were the original influencers. Yeah. Leslie. 07 seems like a lifetime ago. I know, it's crazy. I can't believe it. I can't believe how fast time is flying. Oh my gosh. What do we got here? Latch 78. I hated Deadpool and Wolverine. I felt like Thor Love and Thunder, just over the top, silly, and ridiculous. I like my X-Men on a serious note. It's Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, man. Come on, like, chill. I mean, to each their own. But I hear you on liking X-Men on a serious note. But again, this wasn't just X-Men. You know, we know what it is. We're gonna have some serious X-Men. I do believe it. We're gonna have some serious X-Men. So I mean, come on, man. It's Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, but like I said, it's all art, and we like what we like. We don't like what we don't like. So without any modern superhero films, do you believe during the height of the pandemic, comics would have entered into people's minds as a way to spend or make money? If not, where would the money go instead? So obviously during the pandemic, it was live action spec and all that really drove it up. Now, do I think that if there was, say during COVID, I mean, this is a hard question because it's like, do you mean if it just was never there, or if that stopped too, because production did stop on stuff? I mean, I definitely think there would have been eyes on the comic book market no matter what, just like there was on cards, just like there was on collectibles. People were wanting to put their money into things because they weren't spending it elsewhere, going on vacations and eating out and whatever. So yeah, I still think there would have been an impact no matter what. Comic book Chris hasn't seen any MCU movies. Oh my gosh, except for first two Spider-Man films. You missed out on a lot, Chris, I will say. I mean, you know, again, everything's not for everyone, but what would I do without the MCU? We are spoiled right now and lucky to be alive. Swag says, I need to collect my thoughts on this, but going to SDCC reminded me that there are a ton of fans that would buy old key comics, but they just don't know what to get, so they buy Infamous Iron Man #1. This is a great comment, man. And, you know, and see, I think this is where we as content, I don't want to say influencers, because, I mean, we all influence. Even you guys in the comments, we influence, right? But this is where we who get in front of screens, or even people in this community, you know, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to communicate, to educate, and, you know, and this is where it comes to not hating on people, man. I'm so tired of the high school clicking up BS. Oh, screw speculate. I'm a true collector. I'm a real collector. You're a speculator. You're a pumping. It's like, you know, you're a normie. Everyone is in this hobby because most people are in this hobby because they love something about it. You know, not everybody that's on the football team can be the quarterback or could be the wide receiver #1, but they all contribute some way. Not everybody that goes to a restaurant likes everything on the menu, but there's something for everyone. Let's respect, you know, you may hate fettuccine Alfredo sauce. It may make you gag, but you love spaghetti and meatballs. Don't hate the man next to you that's buying the fettuccine. Celebrate that he can sit next to you and break bread. That's what we have to do more of. Stop the division. I understand we want to be ethical in everything that we do, and sometimes people that speculate and resellers, there's a line of ethics. I get it. But we can't jump to the conclusion, start pigeonhole people and be high school clicking up and being like, you're a poser. We're grown ass men here, man. Come on, man. So I feel that, man. We need to respect everyone and communicate and spread the love. And the mass audience learns about it from the actual big channels like Cosmic Wonder. I was watching Cosmic Wonder too. Yep. I think the vintage community drops the ball in educating. Then this is what I was just saying. Exactly. Swag. Thank you. Yes. I was just saying this. I didn't even read this comment yet. And I think we're on the same page. I agree. And it's kind of like, I'm going to use hip hop. You can use generations in general. Look at when rock and roll came and, the greatest generation that were raising the boomers, right? That grew up with rock and roll. Oh, this is devil's music. It's like we always shun the next generation. So it's like, I'm going to use hip hop. With hip hop, it's like you got all these old heads that are old now. And just because these rappers these days are doing something completely different than they did, it's garbage. When it's like, we got to extend our hand. We got to be not necessarily role models, but we got to be the OGs. We got to, okay. All right, youngin, let me give you some guidance. I may not really understand what you're doing, but I see you. That's our seeds. That's our children. That's that next generation that we stop cracking the whip on them. We got to understand that this is their time. So it's like the whole thing with people that want to speculate and do this. It's like, when I sit here and I come here today and I say, guys, stop with the FOMO. It's not to say that people can't do this in a certain way, but we got to do it in an educated way. And I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. The only time I feel like it's wrong is if it's uneducated. So let's not shun people for collecting comic books the way that they want to collect. Just because people want to short sell and short flip, that don't mean they're unethical as long as they're doing it right. And if there's money in that, you can't hate on them. But let's all educate each other. And when we do that, we can all coexist in this community, in this hobby, in this marketplace, and all thrive even more. When you eat, I eat. I didn't know you can use what do you Vinyl Rock? What do you mean to use cover price to sell your comics? What do you mean by that? Because you can't sell on the app or on the website, right? It's just you got your database. So I don't understand. Are you using cover price as a guide to see value? Is that what you're doing? I'm a living relic on speculating in the 70s, 80s, and the gimmicky cover comic books. Crash of the early 90s. I saw thousands of Valiants, Malibus. Yep. Derek says, can you imagine walking down the street and getting pissed because someone else is wearing a purple shirt? If you hate purple, don't wear purple. But don't hate on someone else. Comments like exactly. And that goes with almost everything in life. Absolutely. Absolutely, man. So, guys, I do got to get going. This was really cool talking today. So, I want to end on this note. There's so many nuances going on in the comic book community right now. I do feel coming out of COVID and everything, I do feel like we could be in a good time right now. I do believe that Marvel under Disney had a lot, they had to go through some growing pains. COVID was hard on all of us, and I think things could have worked out differently without it. But I do think Marvel is evolving in the right direction for all of us. There's always going to be critics. There's always going to be people that are butthurt about something. And, we have the right to have our opinions, but I'm telling you guys, it'll, again, be grateful, have gratitude. It's like like I said, man, you can't eat everything on the menu. It's not all for you. So look at Marvel Cinematic Universe like that. Not everything needs to be for you that's on the menu. If there's 5, 6 things on the menu that you love, be grateful for that. That's what I got to say about that. I do believe, I mean, we live in uncertain times with this economy and in our, you know, the culture that we're living in society right now, especially in the US. And, you know, the market, all markets are very uncertain right now. And I think comic books are going to continue to struggle in many areas. But one thing that remains is this FOMOing speculation on movie hype is not going to change. We're going to see the bell-shaped curve spike up and come tumbling down. We got to get smarter. That's the only area where I will really steadfast say, like, we got to do better in our purchasing decisions, no matter how you want to collect. But outside of that, I'm very optimistic. You know, as long as we can continue to coexist, be mature, enjoy what we're doing, not be so pessimistic, and be grateful in the time that we're living in right now. So much goodness in comic books and comic book content, and there really is. If there wasn't, I wouldn't be here talking, because I was about to be done with all of this, and journos are like, I'm moving on. But I'm still here because there's a lot of goodness. So let's focus on that and be good people to each other, because that's where it starts. We could be talking about comics, music, politics, religion, food, home garden. I don't care. Anything in life. We got to be good to ourselves and each other. That's where it starts. Respect different opinions. Learn to have fun debates and articulated argumentation, and break bread. And at the end of the day, shake hands, give love, and move forward and just enjoy life, because that's all we have, man. Appreciate the moment. I appreciate you guys being here, spending this hour with me, man. I'm glad to be back into this. Look out for a couple new videos over the next week or so, and be well. Be well. Thank you guys. And until next time.